Big was as big as New York City, and that's one of the main reasons why Carrie was so deeply in love with him for 6 straight seasons. Some people even say that this is the only reason Carrie was so starstruck by him. But then I couldn't help but wonder, what if Big wasn't rich? Hello and welcome to my channel. This is the place where I analyze and talk about TV shows that I enjoy. Let's dive into this topic together. What if Big wasn't rich? I want to break down this question into 3 different scenarios for this discussion. We'll use this image of Chris Noth for our example. What if Big was never rich? Imagine if he didn't come from a wealthy family, wasn't involved in high society circles like Charlotte, but made a comfortable income just about as much as Carrie. This is our Big, the one we already know. Now, imagine a second version. What if Big was rich when he met Carrie? But at some point, he lost all his money. Maybe the stock market crashed, or he made some enemies who pushed him out of the finance world. This would be a completely different Big. So, let's start with the first scenario. What if Big had never been rich? My theory is that if Big had never been rich, Carrie probably wouldn't have fallen head over heels in love with him. But it's not as simple as that, so let me explain. In the very first episode where Big is introduced, he's not even called Big yet. We don't learn his name until the second episode. When Harry meets him, he notices Big is very handsome, not wearing a wedding ring, and knows that he carries around a personal supply of Trojans. But in the second episode, Carrie meets Big, and in her mind, he's Mr. Big, major tycoon, major dreamboat, and completely out of her league. Wait a minute, what happened between episode 1 and episode 2? How did he go from just a handsome bachelor to someone way out of her league? In the first episode, Samantha told Carrie that Big was a big shot, but Carrie wasn't entirely sure it was true. It wasn't until the end of that episode when Carrie starts realizing more about him. After failing to hail a cab, Carrie says, "And so, another Friday night in Manhattan crept toward dawn. And just when I thought I would have to do the unspeakable walk home, Big pulls up in a private car and offers her a ride." At this point, Carrie knows that the rumors about him were true. He's Mr. Big for a reason. In the second episode, Carrie is working on a column about men who only date models. She reflects on the reasons why some men, like Big, date such beautiful women. It's here that Carrie starts feeling insecure, thinking that a man like Big would never date someone like her. She says, "I began to realize that being beautiful is like having a rent-controlled apartment overlooking the park, completely unfair, and usually given to people who deserve it least." As the show progresses, Carrie's feelings of insecurity continue to grow, and they're tied directly to Big's wealth. At the start, she thinks of him as this rich, larger-than-life figure who lives a completely different life from her own. In episode 2, Carrie finds out that Big doesn't typically date women like her, women who aren't models. This feeling of inadequacy only gets worse over time, especially in Season 3, Episode 3, when Carrie reads in the newspaper that Big has married Natasha. Carrie talks about this moment to Charlotte. "He wasn't the right man for you. I know that. I know it's not him. It's the whole wedding. And it's her. She's the one with the shiny hair Vera Wang dress, and I'm just the sex columnist next to her." Carrie compares herself to the models that Big dated, like Barbara in Season 1, Episode 8, and Natasha. But Big had told her in Season 1, Episode 2, The thing is, after a while, you just want to be with the one who makes you laugh. His actions spoke louder than words. Even though he never said Natasha was particularly funny, he said she was beige and boring and still married her. This feeling that Big was bigger than life, as big as New York City, only fueled Carrie's belief that she wasn't good enough for him. This sense of inferiority led to many insecurities and issues in their relationship. Yet, it's also what Carrie fell in love with. Throughout the series, we see Carrie's feelings toward Big shift as she learns more about him and his world. It's clear that the money Big had wasn't just about the actual wealth. It was about the access, the lifestyle, and the glamour that came with it. It was the way he made her feel special, the way he swept her off her feet with grand gestures, and the life he lived that seemed out of her reach. Even though Carrie often questioned herself and felt insecure about their relationship, it was clear she was enchanted by the lifestyle Big's wealth offered. In Season 4, Episode 16, when Carrie needed to buy her own apartment, she turns to Big, thinking he could help her find a way to afford it. While Miranda and Samantha offer to loan her the money, Carrie feels touched by Big's gesture when he hands over a check for $30,000. One of the most grand gestures from Big happens in Season 6, Episode 20, when he flies to Paris to rescue Carrie after her breakup with Alexander. He takes a last-minute flight, hires a private driver, and spends hours looking for her. This romantic rescue operation would only be possible if Big had the kind of wealth that could make such a gesture feasible. Carrie was swept away by this extravagant display of love, even though it came with a price. As the show progresses, it becomes clear that while Carrie may say she values simple things, like a quiet moment with a man who makes her laugh, it's the wealth and the grand gestures that continue to capture her heart. Even when Carrie was with Alexander, another wealthy man, she chose McDonald's over a fancy restaurant, but this was more about rejecting Alexander's behavior and the romance he offered, rather than rejecting wealth altogether. In the end, Carrie falls deeper in love with Big's money, not just for the things it allows him to do, but for the lifestyle it provides, one she could never have dreamed of without him. Without that wealth, Big would have just been another man. His confidence, arrogance, and charm were built on a life of privilege. It was that larger-than-life persona that captured Carrie's attention and heart. So, what if Big had never been rich? He wouldn't have had the power to sweep Carrie off her feet, and their relationship probably wouldn't have been the same. The truth is, Carrie loved the lifestyle and opportunities Big's wealth afforded them, and that's a big part of why she fell in love with him. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think Carrie would have continued to love Big if he had lost all his money? What if he had never had money in the first place? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you have any suggestions for future videos, feel free to leave those in the comments too. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.